Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. We are continuing the playtest today between me and Robert Hatcher. He's playing the Central Powers and I'm playing the Allies, and we just finished a turn. What did we finish here? We're going into the fall winter, so we just finished the summer turn in 1916. So this is the last turn in 1916. And we just pulled the cards for this turn, so I'll just tell you what they were. One of them was everybody rolls a lot of technology, like you get lots of dice, right? And the other one was everybody got lots of dice to roll diplomacy. So as you can imagine, the technology went up quite a bit. Here, let me just go around to the other side of the piece here for you to see over there. Let's show you the technology chart first. So on a lot of those rolls, like these guys were up here, and so I've managed to move them down a bit, and I just can't move Greece up that last space. They're going to align with the British Empire in a couple more turns, but you know, this whole game they've been such a long ways away. They've got Navy and everything, you know, that would be great to have. He's just one away from getting Afghanistan for the Ottomans, so that's a pretty good one because of where they are, right? And Austria-Hungary also could get Switzerland, and that's going to give them a few mountain infantry and another avenue into France, right? Like that would be pivotal right there if they were to get that. And Afghanistan over here, a couple of mountain infantry for the Ottomans there, right where they need to be. So this turn, like I had to get up really early for it. We're not going to be able to play much this weekend. Other commitments and everything, so we had to start very early this morning, and it did not start well for me. It started over here on the Eastern Front. Germany took their turn and they bought just a stinking amount of crap, right? Like I can't even count how much stuff they had. I had set my defense up so that it would be tough for him to surround the city. Like I figured he would go for that because that was easier than taking the city. And I would take a bunch of things off him, right? And then I'd be able to take him back. Well, it turns out I only got one unit off him here. He's got a couple of artillery. He's got 3 armored cars. He's got 5 dudes in there, and he only needs 4 for a trench line because he's got defense in depth. So that allows you to do a trench line at 4 instead of 6. So there was nothing I could do there. I had to just not attack this turn. But again, like last turn, I went to Bessarabia there with 2 dudes and a horse. I still couldn't get it. 3 rounds of combat. I did not hit that guy once. So things really started badly over here on the Eastern Front. Except the Austrians. They tried to take this spot here. They didn't get 1 off them. I think that they lost 1 or 2. And that's the only thing they did. They had to stock up over here because America's been buying artillery for the Italians. And the good thing about the Italians is that you only put stuff in 2 different locations, right? So although you only get $12, you get 2 dudes on each spot. So with America buying the artillery every turn, except for the last turn because of what happened over there, I'll show you in a minute. But they've got a ton of stuff there now, right? But attacking into a mountain, I don't know if I should do that. Like the other thing I could do is just hang back because it also borders on southern France, and I did move a couple of guys over there. Like I can't help France or Paris not get surrounded, right? If I don't blow over all my assets over here, right? So we'll see. What I did do was an attrition attack, so I rolled all these at 1, and I should have been rolling 1 at 2, but with the balloon for the attrition. That would have been helpful, but they didn't hit. And it's a faint hope, like you roll them at 1. I did roll 1 too, but I rolled them all at once, and so I wasn't going to take that hit because I forgot about the plane. Because I didn't roll it separately. But yeah, then the Germans also took over here in France, in Normandy, right? And they hardly lost anything taking that. So I was like, wow, why did I even get out of bed today? It's only 7:30 in the morning. I'm losing badly, right, on both fronts over here. So then I tried to take them back with Paris. I took everything I had in Paris, except for a couple of dudes, and I couldn't take them out. Like I rolled 3 rounds against them, and I got 4 dudes, a heavy artillery, and I think that's it off them. But I had a lot in there, right? And I lost probably the same amount at least. First time I attacked with a tank in this game, though. That tank got used in there. So I had to look up what the attack value was. Anyway, that's the way it looks in Europe there. Let's go around to the other. Let's go right here. This is something big that just happened. So we checked. We did the cards for this turn coming up, the winter turn, in 1916, and one of the cards was these four territories, the Manchurias and Rigi there. They all they all become neutral. And so anybody can attack them now. Even the Chinese could attack them without penalty, right? Before, if they attacked any one of these orange dots over here, basically, then then all the other ones would have went against them, kind of thing, right? So being neutral is better, but the problem is that they can't reach them, right? There's a wall of these guys the warlords in between them and the neutrals. And while these guys are neutral, Japan collects a +1 for that on their income. So that kind of sucked. What a surprise, a card that went against me. That never happens. Anyway, the Americans, you can see there they've got a bunch of ground units built up, and I'm just doing whatever I can. We noticed when we were putting stuff on there, like these manpower icons here, right? You see this guy here in Sanford, this guy. Anyway, there was manpower. Some of these territories didn't have, and there should be nowhere in the United States that doesn't have a manpower icon, right? What? Nobody lives there, Anyway, so we're saying that everywhere that doesn't have one in America has one now. So let's take a look here. He had all of this stuff over here in Mexico all of a sudden after the last turn. And he attacked, and it was just a militia, and he beat the militia. Nobody stopped him. So I just did what I could. Like, I railed stuff around. I think I railed 4 units around. Like, here's a U.S. Marine now down in New Orleans. I had 3 of them in San Francisco. They had big plans, but not anymore. I got to go backwards and take this guy out. Anyway, so I just did what I could. But there's no point in telling you. You can see how much stuff is there. I just did whatever I could. And the units that I had moved over, I moved them up to Aquitaine, because that's the only thing standing between the Germans and just about surrounding Paris. And they did move 2 guys up. Like, I thought about keeping everybody back there and going student body towards Mexico, but I know that France needs the help, so I did take the 2 guys. I got to remember, like, there's a lot of turns left, right? And I'm making more money than him, so if I just try to keep it, as a war of attrition, then you'd think that I would eventually wear him down, right? But I mean, the turn started off pretty bad. Down here, things went a little better for me. The British here, where'd they go? Oh, they took this place down here. This was worth 1. So they came up from here and down from here, and they took that out. They didn't do an amphibious assault. It's tough with amphibious assaults in this game, and I don't have any Marines, so I didn't want to lose, 2 units. So what I have been doing, Britain, since the start of this game, has this place right here. It's a tiny little place, Kuwait. And so what I do is I just non-combat move everything over there, so then I don't have to attack them. I haven't attacked yet, though, because I'm trying to build up my forces. I don't want to spread too thin, right? Like here, these guys have moved into India, the Japanese. The Chinese finally did get to attack the Japanese, but they only took 1 unit off them. The Japanese didn't take any units off of the Chinese. 3 rounds, and it just didn't do very well, right? All of them. Anyway, they do look good over here. They've got lots of units and everything. Like, I'm not worried about losing India. It's just a matter of positioning myself. And now that I've positioned myself, it's time to start moving in, right? I hope I didn't wait too long. Like, you can see the stack of colonial infantry he has down in Syria here, and also a stack in the desert here in southern Iraq. So it's going to be tough to get through there, but Like I said, war of attrition. I've got a lot more money than the Ottoman Empire does, right? It's just about how I can allocate it. One thing I didn't show you up here was the navies. You can see that the British Navy there is they've just placed it on the board. Like it was over there on the build queue, and they've placed it. They're in port, so the Germans can't attack them. The Germans did move the rest of their navy up, except for they moved the damaged battleship back over there, and they also have a seaplane in that sea zone. The British bought a seaplane, so there's a seaplane there for the Americans, seaplane over here for the British, seaplane over here for the Americans. I had to do it that way in order to, because the seaplane, this one here wouldn't reach South Africa, so I had to move the American down. And then there's a seaplane there in Gibraltar, and where's the French one? Seaplane over here in Madras, right? So that's covering just about everywhere now. Like, he can still convoy me, but that's covering just about everywhere. And I have the technology where I can pair the destroyer with it for the Americans, and only one away for the British. My partner in crime here is just texting me. Let me text him back, see if he, or let's just call him. Let's see what happens. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that all looks pretty good. Like the seaplanes, I'm happy about that. These guys did take these guys out down here too. I still feel like I went backwards this turn though, right? Looking for anything else that happened this turn. Nobody got taken over diplomatically. The only things that changed hands like that was the Chinese, like I said. And how you doing, Bob?
Hey, what's going on?
We're just making a video right now. Did you want to say hi?
Howdy. You want to call back later? Or you
Nope. I wanted to get you on here. So I just finished telling everybody what I thought of what's going on. What do you think about what happened this turn? Is there anything you want to talk about? Or do you want to just get playing?
No, I mean, I think the highlight, of course, is Germany is starting to loop around Paris. And, but all along the periphery, the Central Powers are starting to be pushed back. So I think it's just a matter of time. That may have been the high water mark. We'll see.
Well, you still got all those guys looping around Texas too.
Yeah, but America's in a pretty strong position, and whether I withdraw or go forward or try and hold in place, it's not something that'll last long. I think the biggest thing there is it kind of keeps America occupied.
Yeah, probably for at least 2 or 3 turns it sets them back, I think. But you know, the other thing was when I was thinking about it, and I thought, should I keep going with the Navy? Should I? The thing is, I need ground units anyway, right? So why not buy my ground units, wipe you out, and then buy my Navy, and I can ship those ground units off, right? But I have to take you out of there. So and you got to take off as many of mine as you can.
Yeah, the Italians are a menace just because there's no way to really get after them right now.
Yeah, they got tons of stuff in there, that's for sure. One way to get them to back off would be to put some pressure on southern France, because then they kind of have to go backwards, right, to save their buddies in France.
Yeah, southern France is in pretty good position. I think the other key thing is it's the winter turn, and everybody's done their mandatory offensive.
Not the British. British don't get any rolls next turn. I know that.
Yeah, you're right.
I didn't attack you at all, and I can't do it this turn. I don't have transports. You see, there's a rule, people, that the British, the French, and the Germans have to attack somewhere in Europe there. And there's 4 countries. There's those 3 countries and Italy. They have to make some kind of land attack in there. At least one round, not an attrition attack, but an actual land attack. Or they can't do diplomacy. Like, they have to do it once a year. And there's 3 turns in a year. and this is the third turn, and there's no way I can attack into Europe this turn, right? So I'm not going to spend money on diplomacy next turn. Too bad. I could have used that Greece thing. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye to these people, Bob, and we'll get at her, okay?
Okay.
Say goodbye, you people.
Goodbye, you people.
Okay, we'll be back. Okay, we're back. Not much happened this turn because it was the winter turn, and so you're only allowed to attack for one round, and so a lot of the attacks aren't successful, and so I don't know what it took. It's been a while, but for you it's only been a couple of seconds. I don't remember what it looked like before, but there's just a lot more units on the board now. Like mostly people just stocked up in the winter, right? Germany is these are almost surrounding Paris now. In fact, they could probably even take a shot at them if they wanted to. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Like I just took a shot. I had a ton of dudes in Italy there, and I took a shot at him, and he hit me 8 times. That's what can happen when you go against a trench line. He hit me 8 times in one round on defense, and that's like that really was a kick in the nuts to the Italians, right? So I mean, like the Germans can go after him, but the same thing could happen to them, right? When they go after Paris. Because there's a lot of units in there. And so I'm not sure if he wants to do that now or if he wants to keep surrounding Paris, because then you don't get the city bonus. Instead, you get a penalty for your city being surrounded, right? And that's a huge difference. And so I don't know what he's going to do. Honestly, I don't. He's a good player, that's for sure. This is the first time we've played for very long. Like the only other time we played a game, we actually played a game of this, but it was when the game was in its early infancy and we were both on the same team. We were both on the Allies at the time. But yeah, having a lot of fun here. And more stuff, more types of units are getting in. Like you can see he's got a couple of trench fighters in here now. They're the guys on the orange chips there. And he's got a Jaeger in here. So that's an elite unit. He's got a couple of elite units for the Ottomans. I don't believe he's put any on the board yet for the Austrians, but they're kind of not sitting very well, right? Because of the Italians being on their doorstep like that. And the Italians could take another shot at him this turn, but again, like do they want to take 8 losses this time, or like it probably should have been about 5 or 6. That's what I figured would happen. But like it was just a good roll for him, right? I think I only took 5 off him. So that took out one of the artillery for the Austrians and all of the Ottoman infantry that were there. So the Ottomans are gone from Austria now anyway. But we started rolling for the Russian collapse this turn. We've already rolled the cards and rolled for the Russian collapse. Plus we've resolved the fighters. It's the start of 1917, so the fighters have evolved again. You either have to pay for the upgrade on them or you lose them, right? And everybody paid for all the fighters on board on the board, as I would expect them to. The fighters are actually going to be pretty good now. Like they have observation, like they started the game with, and they have dogfighting, which they had in 1916. But now they're going to have ground strike. And before they attacked and defended at 2, whereas now they attack and defended at 3. So it's actually not a bad unit now, the fighters, right? I think they might even be 3 spaces. Here, let me just take my handy dandy sheet here. Take a look. Oh, errors. 17. Yeah, they moved 3. Yep. Plus they have an interception value as well. So if there's a strategic bombing raid, they could accompany them for and against, right? So the Russians, we started rolling for the Russian collapse, and the Russians survived the Russian collapse this time. But as you progress down the track here, it gets harder or easier for the Russians to collapse, because the more territory they lose, the less you have to roll on the dice. Plus, you add +1 to the dice for every subsequent turn. So there was no bonus on that this turn. It was just a straight up roll. But next turn, there's going to be +1 for that, plus the other things. So I think it'll be a roll at 7. Plus, if he manages to take off more territory from the Russians, and when I mean territory that's worth an IPP value. It can't be one that isn't worth one. So if he takes off a couple more, then there's a real strong possibility that there will be a Russian revolution on the next turn. But we'll see. But I think probably within 2 or 3 turns it's going to happen, because the Russians aren't going anywhere. They had that one really, really bad roll this morning in western Ukraine, and in eastern Poland, and there's no way that they can recover from that. There's just nothing they can do about it. There's too many units there. There was no avenue for taking that back like they had been before. They'd lose one, they'd gain one. They'd lose one, they'd gain one. And as long as they could do that, they kept them at or near the border there, right? But there's just no way now. And so I think unless the Germans have really bad luck with their rolling, they're going to steamroll in there. I'll just give you a real close-up of France over there. Try to hold it steady so you can see what's all in there. I've only got Paris, and I've got southern France, and I've got that territory called Aquitaine, where the Americans are down there. So that's the only French territories left. And the Turks started moving up over here, so they're up in the desert here. That's actually worth a buck for them. So I forgot to put a pie on there. I'll have to put an Ottoman pie on there. Nobody went after those neutrals because I guess if they all fight together, they're not one separate neutral there. I was finding out after I talked to you last time. So if the Japanese were to attack one of those neutrals, the rest of them would go to Russia. And so obviously they're not going to do that, right? And the same if I was to attack one of them, then the rest would go to, I guess, Japan. No, it would go to the next major power. Probably Germany, because Germany is right here, right? So, because Japan's not a major power. Anyway, the Chinese did come down here and they spanked the Japanese in Cochin, China. After the Japanese had come over here and took out Burma. But Burma isn't going to be a problem because there's lots of British here, right? They only had to step one space over. They were never worried too much about that. And the Chinese are going to be able to come down here. And so we'll see what happens with the Japanese now. Unfortunately, the Americans are tied up, right? So, they haven't been able to put much pressure on the Japanese. Well, no pressure, really. Just the subs over here. And the threat of the British has been the only thing limiting the Japanese, right? You look at the Americans, and things actually look pretty good over here after only one turn. It was a pretty good turn for the Americans because they took their boats out of Washington there, Sea Zone 43, I guess, with a couple of transports, and they picked up all the crap that they had on New Orleans there. There was 3 infantry and a U.S. Marine. And so they amphibiously assaulted, plus there was an infantry and a militia on western Mexico, which is adjacent to eastern Mexico. So I went in there and I was able to take out both of his units that were there on the bombardment. So he didn't even get to roll at me, which was good because I need lots of units, right? So they've got a bunch of units down here. It would be tough for him to turn around and attack it. And then I've got a bunch of units all around him, just surrounding him, right? Like he could take on one of them, but then he gets jumped on, right? I've got him surrounded. He does have one out, like he can go west, and I'll still run him down. Like it'll just maybe take me one more turn, right? So it's actually one of the things that this is revealing, though, is that like the 2 times I played the game before, the Americans hardly even saw the game, right? It didn't look like you would ever use even 10 U.S. Ground units, right? And so I didn't paint many. I started painting again this week because after we finished last weekend, I figured, holy crap, I don't have nearly enough Americans. So I'm painting all kinds of stuff like boats and artillery and everything, because this is going to happen again, right? When you play this game, regardless of who wins in Mexico there, whether Germany wins that war or the revolutionaries win that war, it could go to the Germans like it has, right? And I think that's going to happen in probably at least half the games. And so the Americans are going to have to defend themselves down there. And so because of that, I'm going to have more. The seaplanes haven't moved around much, except for this guy. Like, I shifted them all around. So the French one came from Madras to here, and then the American one came up here. I figured I'll nail this sub here, because it would take me like 2 or 3 more subs to run down 2 of his subs, right? Because there's just not enough space for him. So I've got this guy here cornered. I think he might be able to escape into the Pacific, but that's about it. If he does, then he's not hurting me, right? And really, like before, he was just convoying me for a crap load of money. And because of the lines up north are worth a lot of money, right? You know, $5 here and $5 there, whereas these lines down here, like this is only worth 3 to the British, right? Down here where I pushed him, this one's I think only worth 2. Yeah, that comes off now. So the most he could convoy me is $5 right now. Whereas before he was getting me for like $8, $9, right? Maybe 10. And plus, you know, with all these seaplanes that I put in a network all the way around the Atlantic and down here and everything, I don't know if that's why, but he hasn't come out with any submarines out of that pack for a while, because they would get jumped on. I'm guessing anyway. I don't know. Maybe he just has other plans. He's not telling me. Anyway, in here, these guys weren't able to land in southern Iraq here. So that's why you see the 4 dudes on the boat. At least they didn't lose any, right? I think that they killed a few of the Ottoman there. So they didn't lose any units, and they killed a couple of Ottoman units. So that wasn't too bad. But again, it was the winter turn, and you only get 1 turn. And you know, like we did talk a lot about it, about the winter turn, and how, you know, it's still the weather. I mean, the weather in in Saudi Arabia is not winter, right? But just to make it fair, for that turn, I think that we'll see. But what we're going with is that everybody all over the board has to only have 1 round of combat, even though it's not really winter down south there. We did even talk about how about with the summer months, it flips around, and so it's winter in the southern hemisphere. And that was a good idea, except that winter down here doesn't mean anything, right? Like it does when you get down into Argentina and Chile and over in Tasmania. But other than that, winter, like, it doesn't affect Africa, right? It doesn't snow there. It doesn't snow anywhere here. And so really, you can't really do a winter thing in the south as itself. So in the summer turn, you would treat that as winter. But again, like I said, it complicates things, and it's not real anyway. So there's only 2 choices as far as I can see, and that is keep it the way it is, where everybody's limited on the winter turns, and that's fine. You know, it's kind of neat. Every 3 turns, everybody stops, takes a breath, builds their stuff up, and then next turn they go at it again, right? You know, like you see a few attacks on that turn, but it actually kind of speeds the game along too, right? When you go through that 1 turn where nobody can attack more than 1 round, because that's a lot of rolling when you're going 3 rounds here, 3 rounds there, 3 rounds all over the board for 5 or 6 or 7 different nations, right? So that helps you take that down. Anyway, I don't think I think I just went for the attrition roll here with the artillery there. I wanted to move some more units in because he's got a ton of units up there in Syria. So I didn't want to take him on when I only had 1 round of combat. I thought, you know what, I'm going to lose more units than I hit. So let's just not bother with that, right? Anyway, I'm not looking too good here. Like, I'm not feeling too good about where things are, mostly because France is, like, it could follow this turn. I don't know, right? And if that happens, then that's going to be devastating. The Italians are doing really well. I like that, but like France has got to hang on for 3 or 4 more turns, and I don't see how that can happen, right? I'm excited to see the Russian Revolution, to see how that plays out. And Bob, he's not overly confident about it because it hasn't been tested too much, but that's what we're here for, right? Like, we'll talk about it, and by the time we're done, a couple of games of this, we'll make sure that the Russian Revolution is good to go. Like, here's the stuff that just for the Russian Revolution here, right? The different factions. You've got the White Army. Of course, you've got the Russian Army as well, right? Like, the Russians are one faction, but you've got the White Army, and you've got the Polish Army. Look at the color that this came out, right? That's that camouflage color that I was using, and then weathered. It's just beautiful. Like, I'm thinking I should redo my Americans for 36 in that color. Anyway, the Polish Army. We've got the Finnish Army here. These two up here, like, this is the Mexican Revolutionaries, and this is the Mexican Federalists. So these guys are, Germany controls these guys, and America controls these guys, right? And then down here we've got the Ukraine. This is the Ukrainian Army. So they're going to be a fairly major faction. This is the Macknow Army. Is one guy. He doesn't like anybody. He'll fight everybody. There's a card that brings him out. Anyway, there's Macknow Army. There's a few roundos in there. Green Army, Freikorps, which were, Germans, after they lost the war, they didn't have anything else to do. They're dedicated troops. So the Freikorps went and they fought in the revolution there as a unit, in a German unit in Russia, right? And they were so dedicated and so nationalist and everything that they really were the core of what came next, right? Like they were the first ones to sign up to be brown shirts for Hitler. You know what I mean? So that was actually a pretty substantial thing, the Freikorps. And then over here I've got the Greek Army. I didn't bother putting in a Serbian or a Bulgarian army, because the Serbians are controlled by Russia right away, and Bulgaria goes to 2 different people before that thing ends, and then they go back to being neutral. Like, all of those things go back to being neutral on that mini-map, the Balkan mini-map. So the Greeks, I thought, would hang around, and certainly they have. Like, you see the Greeks in here, the blue ones, right? And I think next turn, not this turn that we're about to play here, but next turn is when the British align Greece. So they've tried forever to get them on the track up here, right? They just couldn't do it. And Netherlands is still on the board as well, right? Every time they get the Netherlands close, it comes down. And here, he's had these up here so many times, the Norway and Chile, and I've managed to take them both down in the last turn. He wasn't too happy about that. I think the French got both of them down. They rolled 2 2s. One of the changes that we made from the last time I play tested, because none of the countries were ever going, like, we go up one, down one, up one, down one, up one, down one, forever. Only one country, until this point that we're at in this game, that's when we stopped the last game, only one country was diplomatically taken, and that's just not right, eh? So you have to roll a 3 or less in order to move one of those roundels along, right? So if you're moving it up your own track, then it's going to be 3 or less. Like, if the British try to move Netherlands up, they'd have to roll a 3 or less to get here. But if they wanted to take one down from Germany, take them down to here, then you got to roll a 2 or less. So that gives people less incentive and less ability to take somebody else down, right? You're encouraged to go for your own instead of trying to wipe out somebody else's. And that doesn't mean you're not going to try to wipe them out, but it's going to be more difficult to do that, right? Like, you've got to roll a 2 on a 12-sided dice. And so the odds of that are not very good. Three's not great either, but it's better than 2, right? 50% better. Anyway, over here the Japanese have worn them down. Like if they had more than one round of attack, they would have busted through there, right? I just moved the Cossack cavalry back. They go after the Japanese. So that was all that was left there was the Cossacks and 2 infantry. And it's clear that he's going to pour across over there this turn. And again, that's going to add to the Russian collapse, right? The more territories that you get. I don't know. It's going to take him a while before he gets to anything worth any money, it looks like, over there. So maybe that's not going to hasten the collapse on that side. You would think that they would collapse before them. Nothing at all happened down there. Nobody put any units on. Just the Turks over there in the desert have moved up. And he's got a couple of guards on now. This is a really, really cool set, I tell you. The Russian guards, or the Ottoman Imperial guards. They're not called. That's not what the set was called. I can't remember. I think this is the them in winter dress, and it's from the 1800s sometime, like Turkish-Russian War or something like that. So it's not that far away from there, and they basically wore basically the same thing, kind of like this Zouave. The Zouave that I have here are from the Crimean War. If you can get past the fact that they're carrying muskets, pretend that they're something else. Then here, let's just take a look at the guy. This is how they dressed. Like their pants there are bright red, eh? And they've dressed like that for the longest time, right? But that didn't work so well in the First World War with the machine guns, right, on the Western Front. So they switched their pant color to brown. Other than that, he looks just the way he's supposed to, right? And you can't tell it's a musket in his hand. So anyway, that's a really good set, that Zouave set. 48 sculpts, every single one of them are different. The Imperial Guards, though, I think that there's 12 times 4. So you get those, but they're really good, though. It's a really good set. A lot of the Strelitz sets are, some of them are not as good, but most of them are really good. And I'm going to get into a video about that soon. I'm just waiting for a couple more sets to come in. And that's all I got left is 2 sets to come in. And that's what I was going to make the video on. I didn't want to do the video before that because I had lots to do. Like, there was a ton of stuff that I painted. This game, there's nothing like it exists anywhere right now. Like than what's on this table and in the boxes that I have and everything. Just about everything is a custom infantry and or 3D printed, and it's all painted and weathered and everything. So it's taken a massive amount of work to put this game together for me. But I loved every minute of it. Like it's my passion and everything. But I wanted to get through the bulk of it. Like I just did a whole round of it where I must have did like 20 or more boxes of custom infantry and cavalry, right? And so when I get the last 2 in, then there are 2 of the ones with gas masks. They're going to be trench fighters, and so I'm going to show you how to play with the custom infantry, how to work with them, how to paint them, and everything that goes along with that, how to find them even. So anyway, I think that's all I got here. Just give you another little glance around. I think I've given you enough glances around, and I've rambled on long enough. I don't play again until tomorrow, and it's still pretty early here, so that's all I got. Take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.